is the D power chord. Not quite as simple as the other two. It requires a second finger involved. And it's the open D string, your first finger on the G string in the second fret, and then in the third fret of the B string, you've got your third finger. It's going to look like the bottom portion of the D major chord that you already know, but you're just going to play those three strings, the D, the G, and the B string. Sounds like that. So practice going between these chords. So we're ready for the third play along. Let's start the band up. Great. These chords sound great, obviously, chugging along, but you can also just let them ring out. Experiment around with that style of playing as well. Okay. Now we're going to move on to another type of power chord. The first ones we started with were open power chords. Now we're going to go to one with all three notes fingered, called the bar power chord. And the first one we're going to play is the A bar power chord, starting with the first finger in the 5th fret on the E string, the third finger in the 7th fret on the A string, and your 4th finger on the 7th fret of the D string. And again, you're only going to be hitting the top 3 strings. It sounds similar to this. A little different tone, though. And that's the A power chord. You know the name of the power chord by the note that's in the lowest, fingering on the lowest note, the lowest string. Since that note is A, it's an A power chord. Now, we're going to refer to a graph that's going to show on your screen of all the notes on the guitar. So now that you know this particular chord fingering, you can move it to anywhere on the neck, and it'll be a different chord using that same fingering. So if you have it here and you know that this note is A, and that's an A power chord. This note's G, so that's a G power chord. So our next chord progression is going to involve A power chord, the G power chord, and then the F power chord, all named by this lowest note. And it's going to be one bar of each. You can pretty much keep the same fingers just sliding up and down, just muting in between the slide. So it'll sound like this with one bar of each chord. So ready for the next play along. Now we're ready to learn our first scale, and it's going to be the A minor scale. It's going to start with the first finger on the 5th fret on the E string, the 4th finger in the 8th fret, and then to the A string we're going to be on the 5th fret again with the first finger, 7th fret with the 3rd, and then on the D string, same thing, with the 1st and 3rd finger on the 5th and 7th fret. Then on the G string, from the 5th fret to the 7th fret, 1st and 3rd finger again. Then on the B string, first finger on the 5th fret and then 8th fret with the 4th finger. The same thing again on the E string. So it sounds like this. Also introducing a new technique at this point, and it's called alternate picking. Mostly we've been kind of downstroking things, which is just fine, but to facilitate a quicker speed, it's good to learn the alternate picking technique, which means simply that after a downstroke, it's followed by an upstroke. It alternates between those two. So it's down, up, etc. So practice that scale nice and slow like that, up and down, until it really gets under your fingers. So now what we're going to do, we're going to practice a little improvising now. We're going to play that scale over the last chord progression from the last play-along, which was in the key of A minor, if you recall. So we're going to play along with that last track, and I'll play first couple of times through with you, then let you experiment, and then I'll play at the very end of the play-along. You may have noticed during that last play-along that I was not only just playing the notes of the scale, but I was adding certain inflections to them, such as vibrato, and I was bending certain notes. It's a great way to add personality to the notes that you're playing and make them sound more like a vocalist might sing, instead of just playing a note plainly, which is fine, but it's nice to add a little bit of vibrato to that note. So let's talk about vibrato first.